6, the 101st birthday of Malcolm X. Here's what's coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Colorado's Democratic Governor Jared Polis is catching a lot of hell over his decision to commute the 9-year prison sentence of election conspiracy theorist Tina Peters. We'll talk to one of the state reps about Democrats planning to censure their own governor. Today in Mississippi, it was the day of action, and that we continue moving towards Freedom Summer and Freedom Fall, fighting for voting rights. In Tennessee, they're gearing up for their Fix It FedEx campaign. Voting activists say corporations like FedEx have been too quiet about the loss of voting rights. We'll have one of the campaign's organizers on the show. It got here today during the House Judiciary Committee hearing examining the Southern Poverty Law Center's alleged misconduct of diverting donor funds and mislabeling conservative groups as hate organizations. Why did several Democrats vote for Donald Trump's nutcase federal judges, including ones that refused to say that Biden won the 2020 election? Plus, 2 of the January 6 police officers filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration to try to block the nearly $1.8 billion Lawfare fund, which is also a slush fund for white domestic terrorists. Folks, it's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
Whatever the piss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, go, roll, y'all. It's rolling Martin, yeah. Rolling with rolling now. He's funky, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's rolling Martin now.
Folks, the Democratic governor of Colorado is getting ripped because he chose to commute the sentence of an election denier, Tina Peters, who was a county clerk in Mesa County, who got sentenced to 9 years in prison for her actions. She has been obstinate. She has made it clear that she stands by her feelings. It is shameful. Folks, 400 elected officials, candidates, and party members have signed a formal complaint seeking to censure Governor Jared Polis over his decision. That's right. He granted clemency to Peters on Friday after a ton of pressure from the twice impeached, criminally convicted, lying felon-in-chief Donald the Con Trump. He wanted to free Tina. Trump is so stupid, he even issued a pardon for her, but he can't pardon somebody who was convicted in state courts. And now here is the governor explaining why he granted her clemency.
To be clear, she deserved to go to jail. She committed a crime. What's at issue here is how long the sentence is. And I agree with the appeals court that in the sentencing hearing, the judge incorrectly looked at and considered her bizarre viewpoints, her speech, and held her speech against her. She happens to be somebody that's espoused what I believe to be, what anybody objectively would believe to be incorrect opinions, conspiracies, etc. That is not a crime in our country. What is a crime is, along with 2 other co-conspirators, one got 6 months, one got parole only, accessed after a municipal election, election computers to download software for an independent audit prior to the software being updated. That is the crime. There were 4 felonies. Those felonies will stick with her. She's a convicted felon. And I believe that the 4.5 years that I'm commuting her sentence to, she'll be on parole along with a number of the other 9 next month, is a fair, just, and tough sentence for her crime.
Oh, really? Let's listen to what the actual judge had to say when he sentenced her.
You abdicated your position as a servant to the Constitution, and you chose you over all else. Yes, you are a charlatan, and you cannot help but lie as easy it is for you to breathe. You betrayed your oath for no one other than you. And this is what makes Ms. Peters such a danger to our community. It's the position she held that has provided her the pulpit from which she can preach these lies, the undermining of our democratic process, the undermining of the belief and confidence in our election systems. It's not about questioning it. No one says you can't question, you can't ask. It's completely different. And if you don't understand I can say or do here today, that will change your mind. So the damage that is caused and continue to be caused is just as bad, if not worse, than the physical violence that this court sees on an all too regular basis. And it's particularly damaging when those words come from someone who holds a position of influence like you. Every effort to undermine the integrity of our elections and public's trust in our institutions has been made by you. You've done it from that lectern the voting public provided you with. Everything you've done has been done to retain control, influence. The damage is immeasurable. And every time it gets refuted, every time it's shown to be false, just another tale is weaved.
Guess what here? You know who did not back off her comments? Tina Peters. Donald Trump also was withholding millions from Colorado, pissed off and trying to force the governor's hand. After he made the decision, then the money freed up. So it was extortion. Now again, Peters was convicted in October 2024. 3 counts of attempting to influence a public servant, conspiracy to commit criminal impersonation, and failure to comply with Secretary of State requirements. Joining us right now is Colorado State Representative Dr. Regina Ellis. Glad to have you on the show. This is real simple. The governor punked out, and he's allowing somebody who doesn't care. And here's the deal. She qualifies to get out on June 1st. When she gets out, Donald Trump is likely going to invite her to the White House, probably give her the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and she is going to stand there and gaslight America and say, I don't denounce anything that I said before. She is going to be received like a hero by these maggots in this country, and that's what the governor has unleashed.
You know, Roland, first, just let me just be clear how disgusting that is, but the decision that Governor Polis made to commute Tina Peters' sentence, it sends a troubling message that accountability for actions undermining our democracy is not a priority in Colorado. And that was my first thought. There was a deal that was made somewhere. And now I'm thinking the same thing. What position is Governor Jared Polis going to get, you know, when his term is done? Because if he felt like this crime or the punishment was too harsh, why would he say that after the sentence? Why would he wait until his time is up to commute her sentence and say, oh, I think this is pretty harsh and she shouldn't be convicted for her political speech? It wasn't political speech, and it wasn't a mistake. It was a decision she made to breach electoral systems. And with the state that we're in and our political climate across this nation, how people don't believe in a government, they don't want to vote because of the lack of integrity that they see. This just sends a bad message to the state of Colorado, and 6 million victims are in Colorado right now for this decision that Governor Jared Polis made to commute her sentence. It's annoying.
And this is somebody who does not regret what she did.
At all. She has no remorse. And that's why I think it's even more disgusting that Republicans are always saying they're so tough on crime until it's one of their own. Now, all of a sudden, her sentence was too harsh. We need to make that make sense. But I guess you can be a Republican, come to Colorado, commit a crime, and have your sentence commuted by our Democratic governor.
Yeah.
Only in America.
Well, I am not going to be silent about it. I think it is shameful and despicable, and he should be called out. And frankly, he should be censured because his own clemency board said, don't let her out.
Right. And that's just a smack in the face to the Democratic Party of Colorado. We're a Democratic-controlled state. We all campaigned for him, got him elected and re-elected, and to not listen to the majority of the party and say this is not a good idea, don't do this. He just literally smacked all of us in the face, and it's offensive. It's quite disrespectful, but now we all know what it is. And I'm just sick of politicians or people running for office using these campaign slogans, giving false promises, and then get into these offices and do something different. So for the past 8 years, he's been masking himself, and in this decision, I particularly believe he showed his true self, because some of the decisions that was being made, I didn't feel like they were decisions that would come from a Democrat. And I will tell you right now, a censure is not going to happen. The Speaker of the House and the Majority Leader in the Senate said a censure is not going to happen because there are not enough votes to bring us back into special session. So he get a pass for this. He get to continue to do his own thing, be the millionaire that he is, make corrupt decisions, and that's the way of the world right now. We see that at the national level with this 34-time felon in office.
And if Donald Trump was sitting here withholding funds, well, then wear it as a badge of honor and call him out every single day for depriving American citizens of resources that were approved by Congress. But don't sit here and cut a deal with this thug.
Right, because that's exactly what he did. So the people of Colorado will definitely be watching what Governor Jared Polis's next move will be. Who knows? He may just join the Trump administration. We don't know what he's going to do at this point, because this was a shock, a disappointment, and a surprise to all of us. We were like, what in the world? Did he just do that for real? Like right in our faces. I feel like we was punked. We've been punked for 8 years. We had an imposter in the seat, and now she gets to commit a crime and do a fraction of the time, be let free June the 1st. And so it's sending a message that Colorado lacks integrity. Our democratic process, like I said before, isn't a priority. And it sends the wrong message to the people of Colorado. And making this decision is really not going to make people believe in our electoral system or believe in our elected officials across the state of Colorado.
And then was crazy. Normally there's a line in the clemency letter that says, I believe you'll be successful upon your release. He took that out. So even he knows what's coming.
Of course. I mean, I just feel like they all in this together, because 66 Democratic legislators wrote him a letter and said, do not do this. Do not commute Tina Peters' sentence. He said, forget all y'all. I'm going to do what the heck I want to do. And he did just that. And it's disgusting. It's gross. Like, I don't even have any words to describe how I'm feeling and how the Democratic Party is feeling. Like, we all truly feel some type of way. Like, you just disregarded and dismissed all of our feelings and emotions and everything that we requested you not to do. He went against the Democratic Party and did it and said, oh, she didn't create a crime. She didn't do this, but a jury of her peers convicted her for committing a crime, and the judge sentenced her to 9 years. So how now all of a sudden when his time is up, she didn't commit a crime? Make it make sense. I think they all stick together, if you ask me.
Actually makes no sense whatsoever. Representative,
it doesn't.
It makes no sense. And so keep the pressure going. Representative English, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Now, folks, I want you to remind y'all, she was tried, convicted. She constantly fought with the judge. But J.D. Vance says that, oh, she should be due compensation because she was hurt. Now, mind y'all, the federal government did not prosecute her. The state of Colorado prosecuted her. But listen to this weak man, J.D. Vance.
John.
Mr. Vice President, thank you. I want to ask you about that $1.8 billion fund set up, weaponization fund as it's being called. Why should taxpayers be paying to settle a $10 billion lawsuit that was brought by the President of the United States? And should people that attacked the Capitol building and assaulted police officers, should they be eligible? Should they receive money? Should they receive money from this fund?
Well, let me say a couple things about that. First, John, I think in some ways the media has misrepresented what this is actually about. This is about compensating Americans for the lawfare that we saw under the last administration. And by the way, anybody can apply for it. Republicans can apply for it. Democrats can apply for it. As you know, the President of the United States has pardoned a number of Democrats who he felt were actually subject to this lawfare. I mean, if Hunter Biden wants to apply for this particular fund, he is welcome to. It's going to go through a normal process where we vet everything, where we try to identify whether people's claims are actually legitimate. But here's the question. You say, why should taxpayers fund this? Whenever the United States government incurs legal expenses, it pays out those legal expenses. When it's settling a lawsuit, it pays out money to settle that lawsuit. And the question is a dollar of this money going to the Trump administration? No. Is a dollar of this money going to Donald Trump personally? No. Is a dollar of this money going to Donald Trump's family? No. The people that would get the money are people, some of whom have been prosecuted completely disproportionate to any crime they've ever committed. Like, let's just take a couple of examples. Tina Peters is this woman who is about to get out of prison, thanks in large part to the president's good work in Colorado. This is a woman who, at worst, if you believe everything that the prosecutors said about her, committed misdemeanor trespassing, and somebody threw the book at her. This innocent grandmother was going to spend 10 years in prison, completely disproportionate to any misdemeanor trespassing that I've ever seen. Was that fair? No. Is it reasonable for her to get some compensation for the fact that she was treated unfairly? I think the answer is yes, and I think that what we're going to see, hopefully, is the entire country, led by this Department of Justice, turning the page on the lawfare. What I would like to propose, and I think the Democrats, hopefully they're willing to meet us halfway here. I won't hold my breath. But what I would propose is something very simple, that if you are willing to turn the page on Joe Biden's lawfare, why don't we prosecute people? Very simple principle. Why don't we prosecute people who violate the law? Let's not prosecute people because they said the wrong thing or because they had the wrong political candidate or because they had the wrong viewpoint. And I think part of turning the page on that is to actually ensure the real victims of that lawfare receive some compensation. That's what this fund is going to be targeted at. And again, there's going to be a process to ensure that that money is only given to people who have actually, I hate to say earned it, but the people who actually were really mistreated by the previous administration and Department of Justice.
Okay, again, let me remind y'all, Tina Peters was prosecuted by the state of Colorado. Okay, you know what? This is what I think should happen. Let me just go ahead and put this out. Let me just put this out there right now. If you are watching or listening and you have a family member who has been convicted in federal court, I want every black person to apply for some money. I want every black person that has been convicted in federal court, I want you to apply for some of this $1.776 billion. And I want you to say that the Department of Justice was weaponized against you. I don't care if you sold drugs. I don't care if you committed fraud. I don't care if you stole something. You know what? Just go ahead and apply for the money because these thugs don't care. In fact, Michael Caputo, who works for Trump, handles his social media feed, he's already applied and he wants $2.7 million. Excuse me? Are you, really? I told y'all, these are thugs in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And this Republican Party doesn't care. They don't care about the rule of law. When their people break it. And if y'all just want to hear, listen, this is the nutcase, Tina Peters herself, who constantly fought with the judge in this case. This is her in her own words. Listen.
What me and any other clerk in this state and in the country should be doing to preserve election records they're trying to make that illegal. They never expected anyone to actually back up the election records of the election. The backup that I did was lawful and required by federal and state law. And though it has no what we call PII, which is personal identifying information of voters. And so this is the actual access log. This is who went in and out of the system undetected. And those were erased. So in the first report, Steve, it showed that 29,000 access logs and adjudication logs were erased. In the second report, it showed that 36 wire.
Oh, she went all these right-wing media outlets, lying. And the right wing is defending her at every turn. I mean, this is who they are. This is who these people are. And so they love to defend these thugs. They're grifters. That's what they are. They're absolutely grifters. And then for the governor to say, oh, she's, she's, oh, she's an old lady, she's a grandma. Well, you know what? They put a lot of old black people in prison. So, she should sit her ass in jail for the 9 years. Joining me right now, Teresa Lundy, principal and founder of TML Communications out of Philadelphia, Mondale Robinson, principal Black Male Voters Project, and mayor of Enfield, North Carolina. Mondale, I'll start with you. Listen, I'm going to call it what it is. Her ass needs to be in prison. She broke the damn law. She decided to argue with the judge, and he lit her ass up. And so, guess what? Suck it up. Do the crime, do the time. That's what Republicans always say.
Hey, we need to be honest about this, and I think the representative was being extremely nice. Dr. English was being extremely nice when she wouldn't say that. When she said they stick together, she's talking about white people look out for white supremacy. And that's exactly what we're seeing. It's been that way in America for so long. What we saw Polis do today was spit in the face, not just of all of the black Democrats, but think about when Colorado legalized marijuana. What we saw was they legalized marijuana, and as soon as they did, black teenagers under the age of 18, incarceration rate went through the roof. Why didn't he pardon or commute those kids' sentences? Why are we seeing these people continue to find ways to forgive whiteness in the benefit of whiteness? I'm not surprised at all that Polis is behaving in this manner. I don't think that he was a wolf in sheep clothing. I think this is who he's been, and he's been hinting at that with some of these conservative tendencies he's been showing over these past 8 years. We've just been forgiving stupidity for so long on our side. Here's what I asked the Democratic Party of Colorado. How do you think you're going to bring in black men when they see this? This is not just losing faith in the election system or the electoral system. This is losing faith in the justice system. Once again, we see a white woman being allowed to break the law, and J.D. Vance is absolutely incorrect. These were not misdemeanors. She committed felonies. And I don't care if she's somebody's grandmother, granddad, or grandchild. She's still a criminal, and she should be punished. And the idea that simply because age exempts you, then I'm not going to say what I was going to say. I'm just going to say this, Roland, and leave it at it. Black people are continually being told that this country does not and will not work for your benefit. And it is harder and harder for people that are trying to bring black people that lives on the margin inside of politics, as long as we see that there's two systems, not just in the electoral process, but in this case, in the justice system. And I'd be damned if we sit silent and let black people feel gaslit to believe that they are wrong for feeling that way.
She's a nutcase, pure and simple, Teresa.
Yeah, her amongst the many others, probably those who founded the issue. So there's just a lot going on, and I think people are seeing the corruption all around. That's why there are new parties that are being established outside the Democratic Party, because people are just so frustrated that things aren't getting done. But I also think we're all just waiting for the midterms at this point. So we are unfortunately all going through the same tiring of views of what's going on with the different individuals just getting away with crimes under the Trump administration.
Well, bottom line is they are who they are, and again, they want these thugs to all get paid because that's how they operate. All right, got to go to a break. We come back.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's the slush fund is just shameful and despicable to sit here and then, again, Vance is lying, Trump is lying, oh, I had nothing to do with it. They're all lying. They want to reward white domestic terrorists, and taxpayers are the ones paying for it. That's what's going on. All right, got to go to a break. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
With medicine and science under attack, I want to keep you and your family informed and healthy. I'm Dr. Ebony Hilton, and I knew at the age of 8 that I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied hard and became the first African-American female anesthesiologist hired at the Medical University of South Carolina since its opening in 1824. And I always say I was made into a doctor, but I was born to be a mom. And as a new mom, wife, sister, daughter, and friend, I understand how frightening a medical crisis can be. I care for individuals on some of the worst days of their lives, and it's my mission to provide you with a safe space to gain clarity on issues affecting your mind, body, and soul. I recognize that there are health disparities, particularly as it pertains to race, and I want to help bridge the gap between you and your healthcare providers. Join me every Thursday for Second Opinion on the Black Star Network, where each week I'll invite experts from various medical fields to share the latest health news. We'll discuss topics such as the vaccine debate, mental and sexual health, medical bias, infertility, menopause, andropause, nutrition, and aging. Together with my medical colleagues, we aim to provide you with a second opinion. Don't miss it, Thursdays only on the Black Star Network.
A decade of love, joy, and power. Black Voters Matter is 10 years old, and we are just getting started. This is love with a purpose. This is Black joy in motion. This is unstoppable power. Across campuses, neighborhoods, and back roads. Let's go! We show up, not just to vote, but to be seen, to be heard, to belong. We ride together, we organize together. We remind each other that our voices matter, because they always have. Black Voters Matter is about more than ballots. It's about housing and healthcare, clean water and living wages, education, reproductive freedom, and dignity. It's about turning pain into action, turning belief into movement, turning community into power. We don't wait to be invited. We bring the energy. We bring the love. We bring the people. Because when Black communities come together, we don't just survive, we thrive. This is how change happens. This is how history moves. We organize, we build, we win.
My name is Bill Duke, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Folks, we talk about protests happening all across this country. One of the things that we are seeing after what took place on Saturday in Montgomery are the continued actions today in Mississippi. There was an event we live streamed here on the Black Star Network. There are other events that were two events happening in Mississippi today. So there were a couple of those events, and more are planned. The whole focus is on Freedom Summer 2026, Freedom Fall 2026. So that's been going on. And now for the past 8 months, we've seen Black Tennesseans seeing what's happening in Memphis, how they have been battling left and right, schools being closed, prosecutor facing targeted attacks, National Guard being deployed. Now they've lost their only seat in Congress. They became the first state to pass a new congressional map since the Supreme Court weakened the Voting Rights Act on April 29th. Now, what you see happening is what is called Fix It FedEx. And what this is, calling upon corporations. Many of these corporations who were very vocal when it came to transgender bathrooms being stopped by conservatives, it's amazing how quiet they are when it comes to Black people losing political power. So this effort is called Fix It FedEx. Ashley Woodard Henderson, the founder of Utopian Vision, joins us right now. Ashley, glad to have you here with us. So walk us through what is Fix It FedEx?
Thanks for having me. I mean, you set us up perfectly to talk about what happened. 21 days ago, the Supreme Court gutted what was left of the Voting Rights Act in Louisiana versus Calais. 13 days ago, our great state of Tennessee became the first state to pass this new congressional map responding to that ruling that carved Memphis, a city that is 62.7% Black, into 3 congressional districts. So it eliminated the only majority minority district in the state, which meant that the 9th, the seat that's carried Memphis's voice in Congress for almost 20 years, is now gone. And what I felt, and what many Tennesseans, I think Southerners, folks across this country have felt for a long time, is that if these corporations are buying the politicians that are carving out our districts, diluting our Black political power, then we should, if they take the vote, we should take the economy. And certainly what we know about Memphis is that FedEx would not exist without that great city. It's headquartered in Memphis. Since 2009, the Tennessee Lookout reported that FedEx's PAC has given approximately $1.9 million to Tennessee state lawmakers. Some of those same lawmakers just voted to dilute the Black vote in FedEx's home city. And FedEx has not said one single mumbling word. So, not about the map. They haven't talked about the federal agents that you just mentioned that Trump deployed to Memphis last fall, 13 federal agencies, 219 federally deputized officers. They haven't talked about the state takeover of the Memphis-Shelby County schools last month, the state's largest district, more than 100,000 students. So we're demanding that they actually say something. And even more than that, 5 demands: that they publicly oppose the map, that their PAC withdraw from the lawmakers who passed it, that they put $10 million towards get out the vote efforts in Tennessee so that we can continue to try to fight for some sort of democratic representation in our state, that they launch a standing policy against state preemption, because we also know that many, many, many times we have won campaigns, including in places like Memphis and Shelby County, things like living wage ordinances for municipal workers and all sorts of incredible things that support working families, Black working families. We want them to make sure that the state then doesn't come in and preempt those victories. And then last but certainly not least, we want to know what they're doing regularly. So an annual public report on their impact on democracy in every state that they have a base, which is most of our states. So those are the 5 demands. If folks want more information, we want them to go to fixitfedex.com. We want them to sign on to the petition. We want them to plan action. Shout out to the Mayday Strong Coalition, who is helping us map out where people are taking action across the U.S. And shout out to all of the incredible Tennesseans that have been in this fight for as long as we've been in this fight. We're really grateful for that.
Okay, so how are you going to do it? And so how are you targeting FedEx? I mean, listen, they sponsor a lot of Black events in Memphis and also across the country. And so what does that pressure on them look like?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, luckily, we're not starting from scratch. I want to shout out Illuminative and many, many, many other Indigenous-led organizations, particularly folks like Crystal Echohart and others who led coalitions. About 87 investment firms then got involved that pressured FedEx to become the first major corporate sponsor to publicly demand that Washington change the name of its football team. And I'm not saying that that wasn't important. Obviously, how people marginalized and targeted communities are represented matters. But totally destroying the only Black majority voting district in the state seems to be something that I imagine they would care about as much as they cared about the racial insensitivity of the name of the Washington football team. Their CEO at the time was a minority owner in that team, and the company had a 27-year stadium naming deal that was worth over $200 million, and they still moved. So we feel confident that through protest, through direct action, through negotiation, through political education, and through people turning up on them everywhere FedEx is. And what we know is that's not just in Memphis, just in Tennessee, just in the country. We know that they have workers and are fighting with workers right now in hubs across the globe. So we are connecting with people, workers, residents, folks that are, actually impacted in Memphis, that are directly impacted by the carving up of the map. And we're saying, turn up how you can. If what it looks like is a protest, a vigil, a rally outside, we're pulling from some of our immigrant justice folks and saying, go and buy a postcard and return it and keep doing that to keep the pressure up. And frankly, signing this petition so that we can take thousands of signatures to the headquarters and say, y'all, look, our people want to negotiate with you. We trust that you're really willing to negotiate in good faith because you care about the Black folks who have made your corporation millions and billions of dollars, we're going to turn up the heat until they actually respond to us. They bought these politicians, and they should hold them accountable to making sure that the very people who make their corporations all their profit are actually protected and able to participate in a democratic process.
Well, when you talk about the name change of the Washington Redskins to the Commanders, that was led by their then minority owner, Fred Smith, the founder of FedEx. He passed away last year. So the question is, will the current leadership do anything? Has your coalition, have you talked to African-American board members there, senior executives? And are you also, how are you building your coalition? Are you doing it with grassroots groups, churches, and others there in Memphis?
Yeah, thank you so much for this question. So we haven't yet been in conversation with Black shareholders or board members. What we know is that they exist not only on the corporate side, but we also know that they have a foundation that a lot of people don't know about called FedEx Cares. And we want them to show it. We want them to put their politics where their money has been and actually move these electeds to actually doing the right thing. Do we believe that these folks will do it just because they're good people? No, but we do believe that we've got the people power to make it so. Again, we've been working with coalitions like the Mayday Strong Coalition. We have a partner sign on that if folks are interested in signing on as organizations, they should reach out through Utopian Visions, through the Fix It FedEx website to sign on. We have grassroots organizations in Memphis and that are statewide in Tennessee. We have talked to national formations as well. So grassroots to grass tops. We want everybody in this that's willing. And I want to be real with you, Unc. Like, we are not also expecting that FedEx is the only bad guy in the Southern-wide dismantling of Black independent political power in the Voting Rights Act. So this work we don't expect to begin or end with FedEx, quite frankly. Memphis in this FedEx campaign is frankly a taste test because the harm landed there first. But every Southern city has a corporate headquarters. Every headquarters has a board. Every headquarters has a PAC. Every PAC has a paper trail. Every CEO whose company's written a check to the people drawing these maps should be paying close attention to what happens next. We'd love to negotiate and see these corporations that are making billions on our backs actually show up and fight for democracy and against dictatorship with us. And we will fight in the streets and in their shareholder meetings and in their corporate headquarters to make sure that it happens.
Yeah, and listen, when you're doing something, you target one company and you build from there. Questions from our panel. Teresa, you first.
Thank you so much for putting this together. Yeah, I think that was a really important question Roland asked about targeting the board members and maybe some of the franchisees that do have FedExes across the state. One of the things that I have learned, especially in coalition organizing, is that, you know, sometimes folks at home don't really appreciate some of the work that you're doing to try to change their livelihoods and their neighborhoods. So you have to reach beyond. So is there something, maybe somebody who, you know, just maybe is a worker that works for FedEx, what is there something that they can, you know, pass on the chain so they won't get fired, but at least do something to help spread the word about this organization?
No, you named it, beloved. Like, actually spreading the word is some of the most important work that Black workers, particularly in Memphis, could be doing right now. Talking to people in their church community, talking to people in their fraternities and sororities, talking to people in their communities and their neighborhoods about the fact that corporations are sponsoring the politicians who are actually making it harder for us to actually pass policies that actually build Black political power. That change the material conditions of our neighborhoods, that pass budgets, that actually strip resources from our schools and our community organizations. This is a conversation we've got to have, and it's not a new one. We've been having conversations about getting money out of politics for as long as I've been alive. So I want to be real that the threats that we've heard could be possible because of this campaign, that they could threaten to move out of Memphis, that they could threaten to fire workers, that retaliation is abusive. And some of it is, quite frankly, illegal based on what's left of labor law. And so I want to encourage workers across the country that are connected to FedEx to be honest. I want them to talk to the folks in their union. Shout out to the Teamsters, shout out to the Pilots Union and other folks that are organizing inside of FedEx workplaces. We want everybody to know that this is a diversity of tactics kind of campaign, and we want people to be able to enter where they feel most comfortable and take the most risk possible.
Ondale?
Ashley, Ashley, I'm over here glowing because in this moment, you sound like an organizer that is so rare in America. I feel like after Barack Obama, the word organizer became this sexy tool people use to become popular online. What I hear from you is exactly what I'm saying is missing from our political imagination. A strategy that targets those with the most resources and not center the most vulnerable. I appreciate you all going out to FedEx for what they've done. And what they've done is invested in candidates that do not see our community as valuable. This matters so much. And I'm going to say this, and I need to say this, because right now we have people that don't understand that in the South, just as you said, there are tons of corporations and entities that we should be targeting, and not just vulnerable people, not just the workers at FedEx, not just vulnerable people who play college sports. We should also be targeting professional athletes. There are 36 professional sports teams in the South. And majority of that labor is Black labor. We need to tell those people who are more comfortable to sacrifice more than those who are more vulnerable. Here's what I want to say to you. We need to tap into your strategy across the South. I am a mayor of a southern town, a southern rural town that is majority Black, but I am also a national organizer through Black Male Voter Project. And we need to be spreading the word and making sure that we're not just getting signatures on your petition. We also need to be doing work to start the next phase of this targeting corporations and professional institutions that are benefiting from Black labor in a way that is exploitive, because we're not asking those who are making millions to give more than we're asking those who are barely surviving. So thank you so much for leading this. And my one question is, where and how do people outside of Memphis tap in so that Black Memphis folk are not carrying the burden by themselves for something they're not solely responsible for? Because it was not just electeds in Memphis that made this happen. It's all of our states that's responsible for this. Politicians who didn't get rid of the filibuster when they had an opportunity. Politicians who didn't expand the Supreme Court when we had the opportunity. Politicians who allow PAC money still to be as powerful and used in our politics when they had the opportunity. So tell me how we tap in, and let's make sure that you and I are in community in a way that expands what's happening in Memphis.
Absolutely. My brother, first of all, thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you for all of your leadership and your courage. We appreciate you. I want to say a couple of things. One is I got taught about organizing by some of the best to have ever done it. Black Panther Party members, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee members. This stuff didn't come from just from the heavens, though I do believe it's divinely inspired, but it came from organizing strategies that we've seen our people do, right? And one of the things that they've taught me is that organizing is being embedded in community, that you actually have to be sharing the resources and access you've got in the community that you're embedded in so that they're more powerful than they were before they had access to those resources, to that access, right? And so for us, this Fix It FedEx campaign was inspired, again, by folks that had done similar campaigns, by people who had demanded that Memphis fix it, right? I'm thinking about Keidron Franklin and the work that he's been doing with formerly incarcerated folks in Memphis, the GOTV work that he's been doing. I think about the Equity Alliance. I think about Memphis for All. I think about Tennessee for All, and all of the people that came together in the Capitol, Civic Tennessee and others who came together across our differences to try to fight in the legislature before the vote happened. And then what became clear, to your point about this being bigger than any one state, bigger than any one municipality, bigger than any one politician, let's be 1,000%. Donald Trump called the governor of Tennessee after Calais, maybe the day of or the next day. And he said, hey, man, I need you to call this special legislative session. And Bill Lee, like the bootlicker that he clearly is, called the special session. The GOP came running, right? And they did exactly what Daddy Trump asked them to do. They gerrymandered this district. But what they might have also done is stretched their actual capacity to win. So if that is the case, then we need to get at the vote efforts in a way that we have never done them before. We need the 89 million people that didn't vote in 2024 to show up and show out, even if just a percentage of them do. Then in Tennessee, then not only might they lose the one seat they were vying for, they might have just stretched Black folks and connected us to working class white folks with some politics in a way that actually loses them 3. right? So we need to pay attention to what organizing really means. And it's being embedded in these communities, Black, working class, white, rural, working class communities, and giving people a vision, an option of what they could be living like, should there actually be not a one-party system, a dictatorship in our state and across the South, but what it would look like to actually have a democratic process where all of our needs got met, because that's actually what we're supposed to be building in terms of the state. How folks can get plugged in outside of Memphis, outside of the state, again, go to fixitfedex.com. We're going to actually put up the partner toolkit link there. So you'll be able to sign on. You'll be able to see what the campaign is. You'll be able to choose from a plethora of tactics, whether it's protests or vigils or boycotts, all the different tactics that it's going to take. Our elders and ancestors said by any means necessary. I think that means by all the means, and we need by all the people. Part of what made us excited about FedEx as a target is that it's not just concentrated in Memphis. Like, yes, it matters that the headquarters is there, but there's a FedEx in every single one of your cities. There's a FedEx in every holler and hood across this country. And again, there are also FedEx hubs all over the globe. Many of those workers have also been lifting up campaigns about FedEx's silence about harms that are happening all over the world. So this is an opportunity not only for us to nationalize a Southern issue, regionalize and nationalize a Southern issue. This is an opportunity to take it international and build a snowball effect that builds momentum towards targeting other corporations that are also silent as democracy fails in the United States. So my excitement about being in relationship with any and everyone, grassroots to grass tops, no matter where you are in the country, no matter what organizing you do, if you care about democracy, Fix It FedEx is an entryway, an opportunity, a low bar for entry opportunity for folks to get involved in fighting against what's happening all across the South, and particularly being inspired by the fight that we still have going in Tennessee, particularly led by Memphis folks.
All right. Ashley, we surely appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Love you, Unc.
All right. Be well. All right, folks. It's always some loud white folks at Fox News who love trying to get in black folks' business. And that includes Will Kane. So he decided to take a shot at Tennessee State Representative Justin Pearson, evoking Malcolm X. Today, of course, the 101st birthday of Malcolm X. You see I'm rocking my Malcolm X t-shirt. So listen to what one of the most grossly unqualified TV show hosts ever had to say.
The people that suffer from the cosplay Malcolm X actors like Justin Pearson are the people who vote for Justin Pearson, the people he purports to champion. His policies that will professionally, personally benefit his afro are the ones that will hurt that community and have hurt that community for decades. Keep doing this. Keep doubling. Keep tripling. Keep quadrupling down and see everything exclusively through the lens of race. And you will continue to get outcomes that produce the same thing, nothing more but the celebrity of Justin Pearson.
Okay, interesting. Will, have you ever actually been to his district? I mean, since you have so much to say about the people in his district and how they are being hurt by what he does, since you want to speak for them, I'm just curious, Will, have you and your good head of hair, have you left your Fox News studio and actually been to Memphis where his district is? I'll wait. I think the answer is no. No. Now, Will, I'm interested. I'm very interested. When Justin Pearson and the NAACP and other activists were protesting Elon Musk turbines poisoning the air, a decision that Trump's own EPA agreed with, that they did not have the permits to run that many turbines. Did you ever do it on your show? On your podcast or your Fox show? I'll wait. Here was Pearson advocating for the air quality of his constituents, not wanting them to suffer from those toxic fumes being impacted by asthma. Again, where were you, Will Kane? Silent. It's amazing for you, a white lawyer from Texas, opining on the business of black people in Memphis who you've never met. Have you ever done your show from Memphis, Will? Likely not. Have you ever walked those streets, Will? The answer is no. Have you ever talked to those constituents? The answer is no. Oh, I'm sorry. Didn't Republicans in Tennessee expel Representative Justin Pearson, and didn't they turn right around and he was reelected? So you think a white man from Texas knows better than the black people in Memphis as to who should represent them? Oh, and you say, well, he shouldn't be seeing things through race. Well, Will, why don't you go tell the black people at Fox News who filed a lawsuit against the network alleging discrimination? Oh, you think what are you going to say, Will, that was before you arrived there? Let's see here. Blacks sue Fox News. Oh, Will, maybe you missed this, because in 2018, Fox News pays $10 million to settle racial gender bias suits. Why don't you go talk to Kelly Wright? Why don't you go talk? I mean, now Kelly Wright, he eventually left the network. Why don't you go talk to Charles Payne, who's still there? See, I love it how y'all, folk like you, Will, and I've said it before. I mean, you want to talk about see things through race. Will, you were only hired at ESPN because you're a white conservative. Because you know you had no business being hired to talk sports on a national network because you were grossly disqualified. But why are you all of a sudden in the business of black folk trying to say who black folk should elect? And then you're going to invoke Malcolm X. Now, you know, there ain't nothing about you that Malcolm would have liked. Not a damn thing. Oh, but y'all love to say stuff about Justin's hair. That's interesting. Y'all love to say, well, he used to talk this way, but not, oh, why is he now talking in the cadence of a preacher? I've interviewed him on the show, and he doesn't always talk that way. But when we typically are in certain situations, there is a certain rhythm to how we speak. You wouldn't know anything about rhythm, Will. But this is what y'all do. I love it how y'all love to tell black people the type of black people that should be representing them. Oh, I'm sorry, would you like for a Byron Donalds type where they can pat him on the back of his head? Would you like the Wesley Hunt type? Would you like the Burgess Owens type? The Tim Scott type? I mean, what is it, Will? Y'all don't like his fro? Y'all don't like his black fiance? Y'all don't like the suits he wears? You don't like how he calls out white supremacy? It's just amazing how y'all always got something to say, and you can't see everything as race. Well, what happens when it is race and you got blinders on, Will Kane? How about this, Will? How about you stay out of the business of black people? Because we know Fox News don't give a damn about black people. We know your entire network was built on demeaning and degrading black people. Oh, we know exactly how your network feels about certain black people. And trust me, you invoking Malcolm X, if Malcolm X was alive today, you, Will Cain, and Fox News, and Sean Hannity, and all of y'all be running segments daily on Malcolm X because he would be calling y'all out every day for the racism that you practice. So, Will, mind your business. Black folks got this. We don't need your advice and counsel on anything. Mondale, you can weigh in if you like.
Anything. Listen, let me say it better. Roland, I don't know why the hell you being polite with this dumbass white boy. Will Cain should jump the hell off the face of the earth and let gravity take him wherever it takes him. Because the idea that he knows anything about Justin and the need to bring up Afro is a dog whistle to white supremacy. You almost called him a nappy-headed N-word. That's what he was arguing. That's what he was arguing in his point. And the matter of fact that this is what pisses me off about Will Cain. If he was any other thing other than a white man, he would be unemployed. He would be unemployable. He has nothing to offer the world. And I am so tired and devastated that I live in an era when white mediocrity is rewarded in this manner. The need for sensationalizing this type of whiteness makes white supremacy seem even more dumber than it ever has been in any point in Americans' history. The fact that the world gets to see this mediocrity put up and profitize like this means something, like this person has value. Your mother, Will Cain, is the only person that may have compassion for how stupid you are. I cannot stand Will Cain and what he represents, including Fox News Network. It is these people who have made money. Fox doesn't exist without black talent. Now they're redoing it through Tubi, but Fox is not a national network. The Super Bowl doesn't exist without black talent on Fox Network.
Well, first of all, before that was Fox Broadcasting Network, Fox owned independent owned and operated stations around the country that ran black sitcoms. Teresa, they don't exist without black eyeballs. So they don't mind black folk making them money. What they don't like, Teresa, is when black folks speak for themselves.
Roland, you hit home. That's something I'm always talking about, that, you know, black folks are great doing the grunt work. We're great entertaining. We're great cleaning. That goes for business. That goes for contracts. That even goes to being elected officials. I can't tell you countless times that I'm hearing from different clients about the racism, the biasness, the disrespect that happens in the workplace. And then ultimately, you know, it's either a silent, either they have to choose to be silent, or they have to choose to be an advocate, or they have to choose to leave an organization. These companies and huge organizations that utilize black talent, black people, black entrepreneurs, and black leadership need us in so many ways, but they don't want us to have our hand in the finance and also the operations of it. And I think that is, and it should have been, a very clear indication for those who actually want to be a part of the change system, where we need to own our own, where we need to have elected officials that do actually have a backbone, not just, you know, look like us and walk like us in our neighborhoods, but actually will have a backbone, stand up to some of these corporations and some of these entities that really say, you know, thanks for being here, thanks for being the token at the table, versus, you know, the other ones that's saying, hey, I need to bring more to the table. I need to bring more people inside of the same rooms that I am. So I'm looking for those folks, and I'm hoping that with my generation, we're able to actually step into some of these roles.
Well, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to take a break in the second half of the show. I got a few things to say about your generation, because I have grave concern with regards to millennials and Gen Z stepping up and confronting the issues that we're facing. So I'm gonna address that in the second hour. But when we come back, we're gonna talk about the drama that took place on Capitol Hill. Things got a little funky when it came to the House Judiciary Committee and the Southern Poverty Law Center. We got that to show y'all. There's a lot more we're going to talk about, so y'all stay right there. Don't forget to support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. The goal is to get 20,000 folks contributing on average $50 a year. That comes out to $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day, to support this show and the other 5 shows right here on the Black Star Network. If you want to do that via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here on the screen. Go to blackstarnetwork.com if you are listening. That's for Cash App, but also credit cards. Checks and money order, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. And if y'all think I'm joking, I'm literally sitting here while we're on the air depositing your checks. So yes, literally as we're sitting here. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 2003 7-0196. PayPal, R. Martin Unfiltered. Venmo, RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
Been trying to erase black political power since Reconstruction. Now the Supreme Court is helping them finish the job. First came Shelby County versus Holder in 2013, the ruling that gutted the Voting Rights Act. Then came Brnovich in 2021, another ruling, another piece torn away. Now comes Calais, the case civil rights leaders warned could cripple the last major federal protection against racial vote dilution. And within days, Tennessee eliminated its only majority black congressional district. Louisiana, South Carolina, Alabama. The same strategy is spreading across the South. The old Jim Crow used poll taxes and literacy tests. The new Jim Crow uses gerrymandered maps, voter roll purges, polling place closures, and court rulings that make black communities politically invisible. 1965 was Freedom Summer. This is Freedom Summer 2.0, because they are still trying to erase black political power, and we will not bow.
I'm Ryan Wilson, CEO and co-founder of The Gathering Spot, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Well, folks, today the House Judiciary Committee held a hearing to investigate the Southern Poverty Law Center's alleged misconduct. This includes accusations of funneling funds to extremist groups and targeting conservative organizations. During the hearing that took place on Thursday, Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett called out the hypocrisy of Republicans who claim to support the law and order while defending the January 6 rioters and downplaying the involvement of extremist groups in the Capitol attack. She makes one thing clear: condemning white supremacy shouldn't be difficult.
It is so hard to sit here and listen to this. That's one reason I watched the majority of this and didn't actually sit in this room, because I'm sure my faces would have told everything that I was thinking. Is there anyone that finds it odd? Well, can we start here? I'm gonna start with the entire panel. Are the Proud Boys a white supremacist organization? Yes or no? Starting with Ms. Wiley.
It is my view they are.
It depends on how you define it. I have a book.
Okay, never mind.
It depends on how you define it.
It's a yes or no. Proud Boys, how they define themselves. Are they white supremacists, yes or no?
I have not read a description of how they define themselves.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm not on their mailing list. I don't know.
So are you only on the mailing list of...
I'm not like the SPLC. I don't fund organizations that I'm in.
Oh, it just seemed like you were saying because you haven't received their mail, you only received the mail of white supremacists. But go ahead, last witness.
No, they're not white supremacists.
And you know what? I do believe that y'all believe that. Let's try another one. Neo-Nazis, Miss Wiley.
Well, yes.
What?
Nazis is in their name. Neo-Nazis, Dr. Swain.
Is the question still about the Proud Boys, or is it about the...
Neo-Nazis. We have moved on. Neo-Nazis.
Neo-Nazis are hate groups, and I have a book, 2002,
okay, thank you so much.
about
so we're
hate
gonna,
groups
so
that I suggest that you all read.
I'm reclaiming my time. I'm reclaiming my time. Neo-Nazis. Are they white supremacists?
Neo-Nazis, are they white supremacists?
Yes or no?
What's that?
Yes or no?
They're certainly anti-Semitic, which I would join with any member of the Democratic Party. Mr. Nadler earlier was talking about standing up for the Jewish
reclaiming
people.
my time.
I'd be happy
Next.
to do that.
Yes, they're white supremacists.
Woo, thank God. Jesus Christ, I didn't think we were going to get there. Oh my gosh, let me be clear. Proud Boys are freaking white supremacists. Neo-Nazis are too. And this president, who loves to coddle white supremacists, has decided that they should be given checks. The reasons that I pointed to those particular organizations is because you can go and read, I don't know how many articles, as Dr. Swain wants people to read up. I'm going to be clear. I've read my fair share of books. I do have my fair share of degrees. It is clear that neo-Nazis as well as Proud Boys joined in on January 6th. Yet this slush fund that they keep talking about is specifically to give them money. So how dare this majority sit here and try to lecture this organization about money? Now, we're not talking about tax-paying dollars as we are in that slush fund. But you're telling me that $2 billion in the same country that I'm sure some of y'all would struggle with whether or not the enslavement of black people was good or bad. I'm not even gonna go there and ask y'all the question because y'all struggle with defining that these people were white supremacists. But this country still hasn't thought that reparations made sense for black folk in this country. But at the same time, they've decided that people that are in organizations that are absolutely white supremacy organizations should get our tax dollars because they decided to tear apart or attempt to tear apart our democracy. They are being rewarded. These are people that went through our criminal justice system. When people on that side of the aisle claim that they love law and order, they went through it. They either entered pleas of guilty or they were found guilty. And this president, on day one, his priority was not around racism. It was around doing things like letting them go and now putting money in their pockets. We haven't had one hearing on white supremacy. Yet when we look at things like the killing of Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, the 9 worshipers who were murdered at the Mother Emanuel AME Church, the 23 people murdered in 2019 during a shooting at Walmart in El Paso, the 10 people murdered during the 2022 shooting at a grocery store in Buffalo, New York. All of these were murdered by white supremacists who were empowered by the Republican Party's racist rhetoric and policies. This is the same party that wants to drag us back to the Jim Crow era. Some say that there aren't poll taxes, and I guess it's because they're not listing the amount of money. But when you tell somebody that they've got to go and pay for something, say, like a passport that costs over $100 in order to be able to vote, that looks like a poll tax to me. Some of y'all need to read up on your history books, the very same ones that the Republicans have decided that people should not hear about because you don't want real history taught in our schools because you're afraid that it's going to hurt people's feelings to know that their ancestors were so savage that they would enslave black folk. You don't want them to understand why the 14th Amendment mattered then and it matters today. You don't want them to understand that when they draw these racist lines and tell black folk that they shouldn't have representation in this country, that it is against the Constitution. You want them to be ignorant so that they can sit up here and be your token for your mission.
Expired.
Now, Congressman Jared Moskowitz continued the back and forth with MAGA explainer, MAGA supporter, the black woman you about to see, Dr. Carol Swain. Listen.
Hold on. That's a wonderful speech and a filibuster.
No, it's true.
Are neo-Nazis supremacists?
It depends on which ones. They're individuals.
No, I didn't ask you which ones.
Some of them are plain old
neo-Nazi. Miss Swan, listen, I'm not reading your book if you literally can't answer this question. Are neo-Nazis supremacists?
They're individuals. Some are, and some may be just plain old anti-Semites.
No, neo-Nazis are anti-Semites, okay? We're going to agree there.
Right, okay.
But they're also supremacists, Miss Swan.
Okay, if you agree.
No. You don't have to take my word for it, right? Like, they are. That's the whole reason they exist.
But you all don't
because they believe they are supreme.
You all don't seem to understand that a white
Who's they all?
supremacist
I'm not a neo-Nazi.
until
Who's they all? I'm a regular person asking another regular person if we can agree that neo-Nazis are supremacists.
I will agree with you.
Okay, I don't want you to be forced into it.
I would agree with you, but I suggest you all take the time and read my Cambridge University Press book that was nominated for a Pulitzer Prize.
Dr. Swan, I can promise you there's no freaking way I'm buying your book. When it took 2 minutes for you to look at me and had to convince you that neo-Nazi, listen.
Because I don't like the talking points. The leftist
This is not a talking point. This is 100 years of history. Watch this. I'm going to show you how easy it is. Mr. Perkins, are neo-Nazis supremacists?
They are supremacists.
Thank you, sir. Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Okay. Dr. Swan, that wasn't a trick question for them. I wasn't trying to trip them up. I wasn't using DNC talking points. This is part of the problem. And I didn't even want to do this, quite frankly, because I'm not interested in making this stuff political. Right? I got Democratic candidates in Texas coming out yesterday and saying that Jews belong in concentration camps again. Okay?
It's terrible.
Like we're in real bad times.
I agree.
And so if we put these hateful conversations in our political box and we do the whataboutism, this is just going to continue to spread hate.
I agree with 100%. We agree.
Right. And that's why we got to be able to at least agree to a simple set of facts that neo-Nazis are supremacists. Right? Okay. We've moved on. We've moved on. You're there.
But you all use white supremacists as a broad statement.
Listen, I didn't say anything other than they're supremacists.
Okay.
And they are.
I apologize to you, sir.
Okay.
Black woman who can't say white supremacist. Lord have mercy. That's what happens when you kiss MAGA ass. Okay, there was some additional drama at today's hearing. Roll it.
Neil, they had an extremist file webpage, didn't they?
Yes.
And they would, on this webpage, they would pick out some crazy hate guy and they would, some bad guy, and he was like the extremist of the month. They'd highlight him and they would say, send us money to stop so-and-so. Is that right?
Exactly.
And F42 was one of the field sources, number 42, chair of some crazy hate group. The Southern Poverty Law Center highlighted him on their webpage. He's bad, he's evil, send us money. Is that right?
Yes.
Did they tell their prospective donors they were paying this guy?
No.
They didn't tell him. Did they tell him they were paying him $140,000?
No, not to my knowledge.
So they said, let's stop the racists, even though we're paying him to be racist. That was their pitch. But they didn't tell him that, did they?
No, they did not.
Is that appropriate, Ms. Wiley?
I'm sorry, which part? Sorry.
All of that. Is that appropriate to say, tell your donors, this is the extremist of the month. This hateful racist guy is really bad. Send us money. But not tell those donors who you're taking their money from that we're paying this guy $140,000. Is that appropriate?
Well, we have public reporting that over a dozen donors actually said that they spent the money as intended.
Field Source 42 got $140,000 from the Southern Poverty Law Center, was featured on their webpage as extremist of the year or month or whatever they call these bad guys, and they were paying him and they were gating money. Is that appropriate? Simple question.
And donors have supported it, and they keep trying to send more money to the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Is that technique appropriate? That's what I'm asking.
That is not unlawful to say that people have done.
I didn't ask if it was lawful or unlawful. As you said earlier in your testimony, the court's going to determine that when they go to trial. What I'm asking you, is it appropriate?
As I said, the donors have spoken. And in fact, they're trying to send more money now, and their financial institutions refusing to send the money.
Is the Alliance Defending Freedom, is that a hate group?
I don't know. I don't do designations.
Well, they've argued 16 cases before the Supreme Court, won 16 cases before the Supreme Court. They stand for traditional values. Southern Poverty Law Center labeled them a hate group. Are they a hate group?
I don't know them, and I don't work on the designations.
Well, here's one thing.
I'm here to talk about
let me ask you this. Is Jane's Revenge, is that a hate group? Because the ADF, they didn't firebomb anybody, but Jane's Revenge did. ADF is labeled a hate group. Jane's Revenge isn't. I want to know how you would label.
I'm not here as a person who designates groups. I'm here to talk about the impact on civil rights.
Okay. Mr. O'Neill, you think any of these field sources were double dipping? I mean, during the Biden, Ray, Garland administration, the Justice Department paid a bunch of confidential human sources, a bunch of them. We know a bunch of them were at the Capitol on January 6th. 4 went in the Capitol. And I'm just wondering if the same entity, the Justice Department under President Biden, paying these confidential human sources, who was working with the Southern Poverty Law Center, having quarterly meetings with them, consulting with them, giving them FBI data before anyone else could see it, having them train their prosecutors. I'm just wondering, do you think it was out of the realm of possibility that the Justice Department was paying the same sources the SPLC was paying?
I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. I have no information or knowledge that they were double dipping. I would say that Stephen J. Ross, who is author of The Secret War Against Hate, which is about the history of informants that Jewish groups had placed in some of these violent groups back, decades and decades before the SPLC ever existed. He said that neither the ADL nor the American Jewish Committee nor the Anti-Nazi League did anything like highlighting informants online as in extremist profiles while also funding them.
Yeah. Last question, I'll come to you, Mr. Perkins. In your opening statement, you talked about how it was just worse than the SPLC because how they've put themselves out there or become the standard of help from the government, I think, in becoming the source of the standard on evaluating and determining what groups are hate groups, what groups aren't. But it's bigger and broader. It has things. But I think the real thing here is how closely they worked with the government to carry out what they were trying to do. And the reason the Biden administration embraced them, I think, so fully was politics, simple politics. You agree?
Well, there are members of this committee that were endorsed by SPLC. They had a C4 was involved in elections. So they were not just an umpire. They were a player on the field as well. So how can they be objective in determining who is a purveyor of hate and who is not? I mean, they had a stake in this. But to your point about their engagement with government, it goes much further than the federal government and the FBI and the Department of Justice and the Department of Defense, which their material was in briefing to the members of the military. But they also continue to have their Learning for Justice, which is about 500,000 educators across America, and bulletins to local law enforcement. And I happen to know because the agency I was with, the sheriff called me and said, hey, we got a bulletin that says you're a part of a hate group.
Yep.
And he was laughing.
Yep.
But that is the reach that they've had. This is the hub. They're the hub, but they're spokes that go out and.
No, I think that's an appropriate metaphor. My time has expired.
Your time should have expired. Here's more of what Maya Wiley, who leads a leadership conference on civil and human rights, had to say.
What is so concerning to us as a civil rights community is that the Southern Poverty Law Center has been attacked because it does work to ensure that Black voters can vote, because it does work to show and ensure that fair maps are drawn for places like Alabama and Louisiana, where yes, because we still have racial segregation in this country, Black people have to be packed or cracked to take away the opportunity for them to decide who can represent them that will actually be accountable to them. These are incredibly important for civil rights, but it's also incredibly important for people's ability to have voice and power, including to dissent and disagree with the policies of this administration.
They hate the fact that the SPLC has called out hate groups who Republicans love.
Yeah, and these same groups are the ones that are being funded heavily by the Trump administration, creating new LLCs overnight and being a part of this same discourse. I have to say, just watching what Jim Jordan has been doing and what he is doing in other cities across the country as it relates to ICE and everything else. And it's a very disheartening thing for those who don't have the time to watch what's happening in terms of like speeches and everything during the day. And we have to get some of these clips. And sometimes I just kind of have it on the background, but then sometimes these type of interactions happen And I'm wondering, you know, what are we like all thinking when this has happened? Like, is this our reality, right? Where the type of discourse that where we have to explain ourselves 5 different times on a yes or no on do you know what the definition of a white supremacist is, or giving definitions of a white supremacist, or you know, and I keep looking at these titles of the name that has doctor in front of it, JD, MD for some of them, and it's like the basic questions. It's like a spin, another question down the road. So I don't know. It's just disheartening. I feel like the leadership in this country definitely needs to be shifted. But it seems like under Trump's administration, getting back to the subject at hand, most organizations under MAGNA is very comfortable where they land, and they are finding surrogates that's being parachuted and having books where they're trying to describe a topic that they already know but don't want to say the actual definition because we want to waste time. So it's just a very unfortunate time right now.
I'm not confused by any of this, Mondale. It is not hard to find Negroes to come up, and I'm gonna use that phrase for a reason, to to go out and defend white supremacists, and they want to defend anything that's MAGA. That's all this is. We know what this is. We see exactly what this is, and that's what they're doing. And so then they get to say, "Oh, look." The black woman Carol Swain, or any of these. Look, you got a number of these silly Negroes, brothers who on Instagram with all of their Democrats are the devil, evil. You got these fools on YouTube who get loud, who love doing multiple segments on me, but you never hear them talking true black liberation. You don't hear them actually talking these things. So their entire thing is Democrats are evil, they're evil, they're evil. But they're saying nothing about the thugs sitting in the Oval Office. So in essence, they're doing their job. So yeah, we also have to recognize that there are black grifters. And these grifters are saying, hey, we can get in on this money from these MAGA folks.
Brother, and Roland, I appreciate you pointing it out, because to you and me and other people who are political, it is obvious. We see these people on Twitter. We argue back and forth with them for being trolls and playing with what's important as it pertains to being black and out loud in defense of blackness in this country. But honestly, I think what's really not being spoken about is a much larger political project that has been building for years, and that is to discredit civil rights groups and redefine anti-racism work as extremist. Like, they've moved to the point now, Jim Jordan is literally up here with a straight face trying to say that SPLC is an extremist group, trying to say that their work has not imprisoned many documented racists. And the idea that you pay informants, if that's problematic, you should free every black person that has been locked up because the Justice Department and the justice system in this country has used an informant. The entire Black Panther Party was taken down by informants that were paid by the FBI. Most of them were unscrupulous. Then they get to frame this discussion of systemic racism as partisan attack. This is what Jim Jordan is actually doing in 2026. He's making racism, systemic racism, look like it's a partisan attack. His witness said, oh, they had a C4 organization. How can they be objective in what's racist? Are you kidding me? You think because an organization is a C4 organization, we can't articulate what racism and racist acts are? This is the level of stupidity we've reached. They're portraying institutions that track white nationalists as the real threat. That goes back to what J. Edgar Hoover said about black people. The biggest threat to white supremacy is the education of Negroes. Education into a point where people understand what should and shouldn't be in a democratic society. We are back to the point where we have these people in power in Congress holding hearings trying to demonize groups that are fighting for civil rights that we just recently got, which is why I have a problem with people celebrating 250 years of democratic society. For me, it feels like 250 years minus me.
Y'all, I told everybody in this was going down. I said it. This is all driven by white fear. And you know what? Mainstream media wants to ignore it. When you turn on these networks, and look, panelists, y'all know this. You turn on, and I'm gonna go. You turn on ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, MS Now, CNN. They do not want to confront white fear. They don't want to call it what it is. They don't want to do any of this here, because if you call it what it is, Teresa, then the same media outlets got to deal with their own racial issues and their racial bias. That's why these networks, I'm telling y'all, a black host on a network told me, I would love to have you on my show, but my white producers don't like the title of your book. Literally. Told me that. And I then sent this host 5 articles from Time, NPR, Newsweek, Axios, to the New York Times, articles that were literally the thesis of my book. And I said, so if I'm writing about the same thing they did, oh, no, they didn't like the title. I guess they didn't like the title. I'm confused. Did they not like the white fear part, or how the browning of America is making white folks lose their mind parts? See, this is what we're dealing with. And so we have not had mainstream media that wants to truly deal with the racism and the bigotry of Donald Trump and how he has unleashed that. And now you got folks who say, man, we can be openly racist, and not only will we not lose anything, we'll get rewarded, Teresa.
You know, you're absolutely right. And, you know, this is not a book promotion, but I read it and I couldn't say more that it was spot on what we are seeing today. It's like, I'm not gonna say there was a crystal ball that you looked in, but it literally is about history. And I think a lot of the mainstream media is having such a hard time because there aren't any black executives that can make those type of calls, that has that type of ownership inside the corporation, that can say, I don't care if it's called purple fear, put it on our show. But again, if we're not in these roles, if we're comfortable being the tokens, the talents, the employee, and we're not going to be in these positions where we can actually bring you on and actually talk about, and with an actual discourse, why is it white fear? Why is it the entire population that's fearful of black people? So instead of, you know, those who actually want to be educated about how they're interacting, how they're dealing with black and brown workers that are inside of their organizations, they rather say we dismiss. They rather take books off the shelf. They rather, you know, also like think about what they're doing with our organizations, our nonprofit organizations, by starving them of dollars and cents so they can promote wellness and education and historical practice inside of schools, since they have erased a lot of it. And so I think what you're saying, Roland, but what we're seeing is time and time again that this is happening. And so we got to keep not waiting for the leaders of these organizations to do something. We have to do something individually and call it out as we see it.
Mondale, ABC News had a president who I helped get the job, who I gave a copy of my book to, who I called, who did not have any of her shows put me on. And I met with her.
Yeah, listen.
And asked to get on.
Roland, you and I both know, we know other networks that's supposed to be our networks because they're called BET. And I don't want to call people out, but I need to call people out. We know stories about them choosing other people because those people were more palatable than what you had to offer. You and I both know that story. You and I both know that. And I don't know which person you're talking about and that producer. That's the problem with white media. And you talk about that in the book too, where you criticize white media as a part of this long history and as a political institution for softening or avoiding direct conversations. That's in the book. And that problem is that white media did not give that person the power. That person was not empowered to say, this is my show, and I'd be damned if we're not going to have them up here.
In fact, the host said to me, Roland, you preach to the choir. I said, no, I need you to be the pastor.
That's it. That's it. That's it. Also, why you got to be the only pastor? Why you got to be the only person preaching? And I think that's the problem. And I think that's my problem with white mainstream media. I don't care if it's MS Now, which they call so-called progressive. They all suffer from the same thing. They were built to uphold white dominance. They're leaning, they're experts, their polls, everything is about what the white status quo needs. This is why the importance of the Black Star Network, Roland Martin Unfiltered, and this, and I am saying it as a free commercial because it's necessary. Black people sit around and act like institutions that are owned by us, that give us space to have these conversations, that can't be checked by white producers that are offended by racial truths. White fear is a real thing. The browning of America has created a damn terror in these people's mind because they believe that as the majority minority continues to rise, their cultural dominance will create blackness the way that it created whiteness. But that is not who we are. So these movements have weaponized whiteness. The rise of Donald Trump, as you said in the book, is a backlash to Barack Obama. And its historical grounding in the fact that we had Jim Crow because of Reconstruction. And it happens and it continues to happen. And we need to be able to name that. And we cannot do that in a media that's afraid to bring Roland Martin on because he said white fear. When you're being palatable and respectful to them, when they can have me on and I'll cuss their ass, I'll cuss them out.
Well, just keep in mind, you talk about MS Now. My book dropped September 2022. Chris Hayes show, never been on. Rachel Maddow, never been on. Lawrence O'Donnell tweeted when my show got canceled that means I need to be on his show more. Ain't been on. I think he did his show one time. Stephanie Rules at the 11th hour, never been on. So, yeah, it's amazing how they don't want to have the real conversation about what's happening. And what we are seeing in this country, the attack on voting rights, this extreme court, the massive cuts with Doge, you now have an Ebola crisis happening in Uganda and Congo that is a direct result of Donald Trump and Elon Musk ending financial support to USAID. People are dying as a result of this. We can go on and on and on. The cuts when it comes to black maternal health. Now you can't even, they're fighting in Congress over budget. You can't even say black maternal health, even though we know black women die at a rate 3 times higher than white women. What we are seeing is an absolute attack on blackness. They despise the gains of the last 60 years. And that's what we are seeing. And media is culpable because they don't want to confront it. And then when you do challenge power, listen, I was on ABC this week, September 2021, and directly challenged Chris Christie on a speech that he gave. I have not been on ABC this week since. It'll be 5 years in September. And that's with George Stephanopoulos, John Carl, or Martha Raddatz actually hosting the show. It'll be 5 years in September because I had the audacity to disagree with Chris Christie's speech to his face and challenge him because I hurt his feelings. That's what happens when you challenge power.
Can I say this, Roland, real quick? I think it's bigger than that, too. I think it's also the fact that white media wants to play a role in maintaining the status quo because they feel like when what you're talking about and the way you challenged Chris Christie, which was beautiful fucking work, excuse my language, the way you challenged him was it's America's confronting its race problem, honestly, and they don't want to do that because it requires them to do work. You are the looking glass that they don't want to look at. And every time they put you on their show, it reminds them that white mediocrity lives only because they prop it up.
Yep. And that's what we're dealing with. All right, y'all, let's go to Black Star Network headlines with Brittany Noble.
San Diego police and the Federal Bureau of Investigation have confirmed that 2 teens from Southern California accused of a deadly shooting at a mosque had been radicalized online and had access to numerous weapons at home. Investigators report that 17-year-old Kane Clark and 18-year-old Caleb Vasquez opened fire on Monday afternoon at the Islamic Center of San Diego, resulting in deaths of 3 people. The perpetrators later died from gunshot wounds in the white BMW, later discovered by police. The victims have been identified as Admin Abdullah, security guard at the mosque, and and Mansour Kazahi, the manager of the mosque store. Federal investigators indicated that the teens were influenced by racist online extremist communities associated with white supremacist ideology. Authorities found a 75-page document linked to the suspects that includes neo-Nazi imagery, anti-Semitic rhetoric, anti-Black racism, anti-Muslim hate speech, misogyny, and praise for previous mass shooters for their attacks in Christchurch, New Zealand, and Buffalo, New York. A fifth person has been arrested and charged in connection to the murder of a 16-year-old Black girl in Huntsville, Missouri. Skylar Powell was charged over the weekend with hindering the prosecution for hiding Alana Mason in the basement. Powell, along with Alana Mason, Christopher Hull, Hunter Ames, and Julian Mason, they're accused of kidnapping Huff from her home and murdering her. Huff was reported missing by her parents May 6th, and according to probable cause statements, Ames told police that Huff was shot and killed after being beaten with a baton. Documents describe how Huff was put in the trunk of a car before being taken to the Rudolph Bennett Conservation Area. Her body was found on May 13th in the wooded area. 26-year-old Julian Mason and 23-year-old Hall are both facing first-degree kidnapping charges. 20-year-old Alana Mason and Ames are now facing first-degree murder charges. The 5 suspects are now being held without bond. The next court appearance for the case is on June 1st. A disturbing racist incident is caught on camera at a middle school in Hillsborough, Florida. The viral video shows a white teacher, 63-year-old Karen Whitmire Savage, appearing to use an electrical cord to hang a Black baby doll from a TV monitor in a classroom while students watched. The video was recorded by a 14-year-old student at Barrington Middle School. Parents and community members called the imagery racist and deeply offensive. Student Noah and his mother, Nina Williams, say the incident left students shocked and emotionally shaken. Hillsborough County Superintendent Van Ayer says that Savage had been removed from campus while the district investigates. And the Louisiana State Senate unanimously passed an anti-hazing bill in memory of Caleb Wilson, a Southern University student who lost his life during a hazing ritual. The Caleb Wilson Act was introduced in response to the tragic death of the 19-year-old. Its goal is to prevent hazing through education rather than purely punitive measures. The legislation shifts the focus from criminal penalties to proactive awareness. The course designed under this act will teach students what qualifies as hazing, outline the potential consequences, and then provide guidance on just how to report hazing incidents that they may witness or experience. If passed, the act will require students involved in campus organizations, including fraternities and sororities, to complete a 1 credit hour anti-hazing course within the first 2 semesters of membership. The bill is now set to be presented to Governor Jeff Landry for approval. And Eastern Star Church is officially closed on its purchase of the former Martin University, a Black college located in northeast downtown Indianapolis, Indiana. The future of the campus has been uncertain since Martin University announced it was shutting down back in January. You may remember us telling you about that story. Eastern Star Church says the property will be an extension of its Renewing Our Community for the Kingdom, or ROC initiative. It's a long-term goal. It's to make the community stronger through education, financial security, affordable housing, and strengthening the sense of community. The church closed on the property May 8th. It was listed for $3.5 million. Changes to the former campus will start by the end of the year. And Morgan State University's nursing program in Maryland is now the best in the state. According to the school officials, the HBCU's Department of Nursing achieved a 100% first-time pass rate for the NCLEX RN nursing licensure examination for its 2025 bachelor's in nursing graduates. A 2025-26 NCLEX RN program report also found that the entire cohort of test takers outperformed state and national averages. And as a result, Morgan State University's recent feat, the Maryland Board of Nursing, has named it as the top-ranked nursing program in Maryland for the 2025-2026 school year. The nursing program is further validated by data from Mountain Measurement Incorporated, which indicates that the HBCU ranks in the 97th percentile among Maryland nursing programs, including 31 pre-licensure programs. The press release states, the HBCU's nursing program last achieved a 100% pass rate back in 2018. Back to you guys in the studio.
All right, folks, don't forget to watch The Breakdown, Brittany Noble, every day, noon Eastern, right here on the Black Star Network. The Breakdown, Brittany Noble, every day, noon Eastern on the Black Star Network. All right, folks, Medicare, signed into law in 1965, same year as the Voting Rights Act. We fought for it so our elders could never be denied health care again, just as we can't be turned away from the ballot box. But now they've made it so complicated with so many plans, so much fine print, that people are right back to fighting for the care they're entitled to. I recently read about one woman who was diagnosed with cancer and her Medicare plan refused to cover her treatment. Folks, that's just plain wrong. That's why we partnered with Chapter. Chapter is the only national advisor that compares every Medicare plan. They look at your doctors, your medications, your whole situation, and after a free 20-minute call with Chapter, you'll hang up knowing you have a plan that fits your needs. And that woman who couldn't get her cancer treatment, Chapter found her a new plan that covered her surgery. So if you're turning 65 or already on Medicare, click the link and talk to Chapter today, okay? Let me be clear. Click the link in Chapter. So we're going to have the link on our page on Black Star Network. So all you got to do is go to our Black Star Network page, and you can actually click the link. That's all you have to do. We'll also have this in our the contact information on YouTube. Now, you can also call Chapter at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281, and connect with someone you can trust. We'll be right back on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
They've been trying to erase black political power since Reconstruction. Now the Supreme Court is helping them finish the job. First came Shelby County versus Holder in 2013, the ruling that gutted the Voting Rights Act. Then came Brnovich in 2021, another ruling, another piece torn away. Now comes Colo, the case civil rights leaders warned could cripple the last major federal protection against racial vote dilution. And within days, Tennessee eliminated its only majority black congressional district. Louisiana, South Carolina, Alabama. The same strategy is spreading across the South. The old Jim Crow used poll taxes and literacy tests. The new Jim Crow uses gerrymandered maps, voter roll purges, polling place closures, and court rulings that make black communities politically invisible. 1965 was Freedom Summer. This is Freedom Summer 2.0, because they are still trying to erase black political power, and we will not bow.
Hey everybody, I'm T.D. Jakes, and I want to encourage you to watch Roland Martin Unfiltered. It'll blow your mind.
Folks, you can always count on a bunch of lies from these MAGA people, like so-called Officer Brandon Tatum. Now, let me tell you about this fool. There was a point when George Floyd was murdered. He comes on, he says, I'll debate anybody on this subject. Raise my hand. Boy, he never responded. He didn't want this smoke. I remember Dave Rubin did the exact same thing. And a bunch of people on Twitter were like, Roland Martin, Roland Martin, Roland Martin. And I raised my hand. Yeah, Rubin never called either. So Brandon Tatum sat down with Stephen A. Smith for a conversation. And they discussed how the black community is supposedly blindly loyal to the Democratic Party. Also, Tatum claimed that Kamala Harris was not qualified for president. They criticized Democrats for not paying attention to Ice Cube, praised the Republicans for supposedly signing a contract with the rapper to assist the black community. It was all sorts of lies. And, you know, I could have ignored this, but just in case you didn't hear any of these nonsensical lies coming out of Tatum's mouth, here you go.
Somebody told me an interesting story about Ice Cube. Mm-hmm. And I think I think the world know a little bit about what Ice Cube did. He went to the Republicans.
And the Democrats.
And he went to the Republicans and the Democrats. He went to the Republicans and said, hey, I want to do something for the black community. He struck a deal with the Republicans, with Donald Trump, to do something incredible for the black community.
They were willing to listen to him, and the Democrats were not.
Reparations. Mm-hmm. And I'm not for reparations whatsoever anymore. You know, we passed that point. We can't do it. But
you can't do it when you're $39 trillion in debt.
Well, you can't do it when you're $39 trillion in debt. We should have done it a long time ago. And you can't do it because we can go into a whole thing on this with the Democrats, but let me get back to the point. You know, he struck a deal with Donald Trump. He go to the Democrats, they brushed him off. They shoot him. They ain't even talk to him. And I feel like you've been saying this forever. They've been doing us like this for years.
Yes.
Because when you sold out to one side, they don't have to work for you. They like, we got them hook, line, sink. Now let's go to LGBTQ. Yes. Now let's go to
that's the
group,
viral video
Hispanic.
circulating right now. Like I said this yesterday.
Right.
No, I've been saying this for over 25 years. Over 25 years, whenever I've been speaking on politics, I have always said, for one election, I want black folks to vote Republican just to put the Democrats on notice that you have to work for our vote too. And to put the Republicans on notice, you might have a shot at getting our vote if you cater to us the way you cater to other communities. That's all I've ever said. In other words, flatter me. You go to a house, you don't just buy it without looking and walking through it. You don't buy a car without test driving it.
Right.
Wait a minute, flatter me, show me what you got. I want us to go to the polls and I want us to have them wondering, who are we gonna support? That's what I would love.
Why do you think we can't get past that hump? Even this election, last election, more black men voted for Donald Trump than ever before for the Republican side.
Right.
But black women were hook, line, and sinker for Kamala Harris. I have a family member that's an AKA.
Okay.
So she don't care what Kamala did. She go, I'm on both of my sorority sister.
Right.
But you see a disproportionate amount of black women voting for Kamala when the woman can't do an interview for 30 seconds without talking the word salad. She has no accomplishments. I mean, no significant accomplishments.
Well, that's harsh.
Let me say significant accomplishments.
Okay, but let me
that will lead me to believe that she's qualified to be the president.
I would push back on you with this. She's educated. She has a law degree. She's the former attorney general in San Francisco and for the state of California. She's a former United States senator. She's a former vice president. I'm just saying that.
Well, let's go point by point. She was in California, but she was responsible for the incarceration.
I
get so many young. You get what I'm saying?
Don't get me started with the weed. I mean, for weed now, but I get it. But what I'm saying to you is that I'm going to be protective of you just as much as I'm going to be protective of her when it comes to classifying whether or not we're qualified. When we've seen throughout history a lot of white folks that had connections that ended up getting jobs and getting positions that people would otherwise, even they themselves as white folks, challenged whether this person or that person actually deserved it.
Okay. See, this is what happens when you lie. Okay? So Tatum says that Ice Cube cut a deal with Trump. He didn't meet with Trump. He met at a hotel with Jared Kushner and others. 2 months before the election, let me be clear. Trump sat in the Oval Office in 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, did nothing for black people. The lie that he funded HBCUs permanently, that was a bill from Congresswoman Alma Adams. Trump didn't know shit about the bill. Now, when the HBCU presidents met in the Oval Office, they mentioned it. He didn't know nothing about the bill, so it wasn't his idea. So stop fronting. Okay. So Ice Cube came up with his plan for Black America. It wasn't the first time. Black people have come up with plans many times. And I had Ice Cube on the show. So 2 months before the election, Donald Trump drops his platinum plan. Now, first of all, what I'm looking at here is actually not the original platinum plan because, but matter of fact, let's just go ahead and do it. See, this is where Brandon Tatum, this is why Brandon Tatum will never, ever debate me because I will fact check him on his lies. Okay? He lied. First of all, it's not Kamala, it's Kamala. So maybe you ought to get the name right, pronounce the name properly. To act as if she wasn't the district attorney in San Francisco, the attorney general in California, the United States senator, and then vice president is a joke. Second of all, and I'm going to be sure to send Stephen A. this text as well, he advanced the lie about her locking up lots of black men in weed because she actually created the diversion programs. But again, That's what happens when the lie gets advanced. So this was the so-called plan that Tatum was touting that was negotiated with Ice Cube, which this is all bullshit, y'all. Okay? So, and I have broken this thing down before. So he sat here and promised 3 million black jobs. Can you tell me what's the black unemployment rate in America since he got into office in January of 2025? Black unemployment is up in this country. Oh, seek infrastructure funding that will lead to widespread growth in the annual $500 billion federal contracting opportunities. That's also a lie. In the last year of Biden-Harris, blacks received $10 billion in federal contracts, only 2%, but that happened to be a record. Since Trump has been in office, it's been 1.2%, okay? Grow minority-owned businesses with additional tax cuts to stimulate hiring and investment. Another lie. Donald Trump is freezing black businesses out of contracts. In Texas, the Republicans got rid of the HUB program, which was actually put in place by Republican Governor George W. Bush, that created opportunities for black and minority-owned businesses. They got rid of that. Then you see, encourage onshoring and development of domestic manufacturing to increase supply chain, business development, and unemployment. No, ain't happening. Examine barriers to employment, including fees, occupation, licensing, arrest, record inaccuracy, and expungement. Yeah, none of that happened. Increase activity and opportunity zones, including benefits for local hires. No one, Senator Tim Scott, and no one has given me a report that shows the effectiveness of opportunity zones. No one, and I've actually been asking for it. Invest almost $20 billion toward broadband internet access to create job opportunities, improve classroom connectivity, and the ability to utilize telehealth services. Trump, they slashed the billions of dollars that Biden got approved by Congress for broadband. Mondale knows that, being the mayor of a rural community. Okay, then they talk increase opportunities for small business lending and technical assistance through community development financial institutions, make the Minority Business Development Agency permanent, blah, 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 blah. Y'all, increase the number of black-owned contracting businesses, financial service entities, blah, blah, blah. Y'all, none of this happened. None of this happened. Okay? We can go to education, continue to protect the vital role of HBCUs. So why is budget doing drastic cuts? Look at this, increase the amount of Pell Grants. They actually are cutting Pell Grants. Y'all, they're lying. This was if he got elected in 2020, he didn't. So I'm telling y'all what didn't happen and what's not happening right now, okay? Then over here, let's see here. All right? So, okay, Affordable Care Act, reduce costs and improve access to quality health care through HRSA. Y'all, they're not doing that. Eliminate long-standing healthcare disparities. How can you do that when you're actually cutting the grants when it comes to the actual studying of the things that impact black people? Investment into the causes and cures of kidney disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, sickle cell disease, maternal mortality, and other diseases that disproportionately affect African-American populations. They cut all of that. Brandon Tatum is a liar who will never tell his audience they cut all of that when Elon Musk and Doge came in. And guess what? With Russell Vought over the budget, they're cutting all of that again. I mean, we can go on and on and on and on and on. Okay, save streets, continue to make historic improvements to the criminal justice system through common sense actions like the First Step Act. By the way, the First Step Act was passed. Democrats control the House. That's how it got passed in the House. And then it got through the Senate because people like then Senator Kamala Harris, Senator Cory Booker, Senator Dick Durbin, and Republican Senator Chuck Grassley said, y'all got to make some changes to this. And so look at this here. Restore safety to Americans' great cities by working with police departments, blah, blah, blah. Y'all, look at this right here. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Did y'all see this here? What does it say right there? Restore safety to America's great cities by working with police departments, community leaders, and mental health professionals to install the most responsive, professional, and accountable models of policing, including diversity training. Uh-oh. It's amazing what happens when you read their lies. Look at this here. Champion federal policy reforms to advance home ownership initiatives. He ain't done that. partner with local leaders in black communities to ensure maximum federal support for neighborhood revitalization, make Juneteenth a national holiday. Oh, so the man who now shits on Juneteenth promised to make it a national holiday, huh? Whoa, look at this here. Prosecute the KKK and Antifa as terrorist organizations and make lynching a national hate crime. Well, first of all, Juneteenth and hate crime came under Biden, but they ain't been prosecuting these white supremacists under Trump. Love this here. Fuel black farmers and access to healthy foods to address food disparities. He won't even meet with the black farmers in John Boyd. Favorable trade deals to bring back manufacturing jobs and help black contractors, farmers, inventors, and consumers. No, ain't happening. Defend religious liberty in African-American churches and lift the conscience of our nation. BS. Collaborate with cities and counties to address mental illness and substance abuse. You're doing that by cutting funds. Y'all, the Platinum Plan was absolutely a tinfoil plan. It was trash. So Brandon Tatum, you're an absolute liar. Oh, let me also help you. You're also a lie. I know for a fact that Vice President Kamala Harris wanted to meet. She was going to meet with Ice Cube and D.L. Hughley and Snoop Dogg, but Ice Cube wanted to meet him by himself. So Stephen A. and Tatum are wrong by saying Democrats blew them off. See, this is what happens when you lie. And then when you stand there and lie and say, oh, yeah, they didn't want to meet to discuss a black plan of action, that's also a lie. Because there were other groups that presented various agendas. Urban League, NAACP, Black Voters Matter, Black Economic Alliance. I mean, we could go on and on and on. See, this is what happens when you don't deal in facts. And when people like Brandon Tatum openly lie, they openly lie. And I told Ice Cube directly, y'all, had him here on the show. I said also partner with Black Features Labs put out an entire report that laid out what black people said they wanted. I had Alicia Garza on the show, put them on a text chain. Never happened. But Brandon Tatum is a liar, and he's advancing MAGA lies, and that's what he did in his interview with Stephen A. Smith. And I previously discussed this whole ridiculous idea that Stephen A. Smith has that if black people just vote for Republicans just 1 year, they're going to then listen to us. No, they not. Why in the hell would we invite ourselves to our own lynching? That is crazy. But y'all have to understand what's going on here. They want to advance these lies. And see, I'm very clear. I don't advance a Democrat agenda or Republican agenda. I advance a black agenda. But see, in politics, you do got to pick a lane as it relates to which one are you likely to get what you need. And I'm telling you, it ain't the Republican Party. So all you yappity-yap loudmouths on Instagram and also on YouTube, you know, y'all ones who make 4, 5, 6 videos of me a month because you can't get views any other way. It's amazing when y'all spend tons of time critiquing the Democratic Party, which we do, and challenge. But it's amazing when y'all ain't got no smoke for them lying Republicans who absolutely are anti-black. And they prove it every single day. I'm going to close this thing out with Teresa and Mondale. Teresa, I'll start with you. Truth is truth, lies are lies. And the reality is there was no deal that was cut between Jared and Ice Cube. They only did it 2 months before the election, and they put this trash plan out. It was a joke because if it was real, okay, they got back in. And why is it none of the stuff that they had in here? And the plan is still up. It's right here. Y'all can go to, if y'all can right here, and y'all can type in Trump's Platinum Plan with Black America. It's on the website. It's full of stuff that they never, ever did, and it's actually 180 degrees different than what they've done.
You know, it's interesting. If you talk to some of the MAGA and Republican supporters, they will say promises made and promises kept. And then my response was always, well, to who? because our Black agenda and our Black plan that we needed was never coming to fruition. What we saw with Tatum and Smith and the likes, I probably just really want to say the characters in that space, is the lack of knowledge, institutional knowledge and understanding, and really just, years and years of just issues of them feeling like they had no voice. And under the Magna and the Republicans, they feel like, now you hear me, now you see me, and watch what I do. Unfortunately, we're watching on a wide screen what's happening right in front of our faces. And what we're seeing is the chaos and the misinformation that has been happening since Trump got in this White House. And I think so many times when, we are listening to some of these things, it is so important that we fact check, research, and follow up. So it's not enough for us to just be taking a look at some of these reels and clips and hitting the like button and doing a little comment, but we have to do more. We have to show up and actually call it out when misinformation is actually being given to us.
Mondale?
So let me say something that's dangerous about this podcast show that we just watched, Roland. What's dangerous about it is people will look at it and see Stephen A. Smith, who has a contract with ESPN, which is also a conservative network. We can get into that later. But what they'll see is they'll give credence to Brandon or Orlando Tatum, whose initials spell bot, because that's exactly what he is. They'll give credence to something that they shouldn't. And I think that's the danger of not having enough Black media in the world, enough Roland Martin unfiltered in the world. Because I just want to say something that we have to say. I am tired of people lying on Black men voting habits like they know what the hell they're talking about. I spend my entire life building out an organization that is designed to reach the Black men who don't see themselves in the political structure, only to have people like Brandon exploit that disconnect between Black men and the political parties for something like he's doing right now. To be clear, Donald Trump has got less raw number of Black men voting for him every election since he came down that escalated the first time. What they talking about and what they're misappropriating is percentages. The percentage of Black men that voted for Donald Trump was higher in 2024 because the other percentage, meaning those who don't support him, was lower than it had been in previous election. There's not been an increase of Black men voting for Donald Trump ever. Never since he ran the first time has he seen.
Hold up, Mondale. I'm sorry. Hold up, Mondale. Hold up. I'm right here. You mean this right here? This is the graphic that shows from 1980 to 2024 the racial gaps. And what you will see, what they're claiming, this massive turnout in 2024, you see right there. The number in 2024 was the lowest Black voter turnout since 2004. Exactly. So now exactly. Go ahead and walk that down.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is that they're bragging about a increase in percentage, but not in raw numbers. Donald Trump did not increase the number of Black men. Black men are not falling for his orange bullshit. It is people like Brandon trying to exploit that idea. Also, he said something that is absolutely stupid and a use of words that really matter. He said Black women disproportionately voted for Kamala. Disproportionately implies that something is out of the norm, something that wouldn't be. Why would they disproportionately, or why would they disproportionately vote for Republicans or anybody else when there's no record that Republicans do anything except for prop up white supremacy and white supremacists? To be clear, and we should say this because you said something, Roland, but I think people need to hear this. Kamala did not just create a diversion program for brothers with marijuana charges. She created the first in the nation, dude. Let's be clear about that. You all are criticizing this woman for some shit that is not real. She created the first diversion program in the nation. The nation. And it blows my mind that she gets no credit for that. It blows my mind that people want to continue to pretend that she didn't do her job in a way that was more equitable for Black people. They try to say she locked up Black parents for truancy. That got shot down with facts. They're trying to rebring this because Stephen A. said something before. He said, I'll defend her like I defend you. But he also said, don't get me talking about the weed stuff. You can't talk about the weed stuff unless you're going to talk about her successful creating a program that has been duplicated across all of the country in places that have progressive prosecutors that are figuring out that you shouldn't be sentencing people for marijuana. So I'm so tired of people trying to attack this sister's record when there have been so many people, damn near all of them, who had less experience than her to be president. That is not the reason she lost. She lost because of the time frame that Biden gave her, and also a lot of other factors that we don't need to get into in this moment. But none of them were mentioned on this show. And furthermore, Ice Cube sits out of politics and then decides that he's going to get in and show that because he's famous, he should have an audience when he has no political backing and understanding. And it is also illogical to say that Kamala was not trying to reach or listen to black men when we had meetings every Friday to talk about a black male program. And I know that because I was a part of that program and critical in her face, and she did not shut me out. There was an invitation that came every week, even though I had disagreements with their programs. These people are full of shit. They sit on the internet and talking to yellow lights with microphones and think that they're experts, even though they don't know nothing about what they're pretending to talk about. I'm tired of these people like Brandon, like Stephen A. Smith, who talk about for 25 years he said it. That means for 25 years, you've been telling the same damn lie.
Bottom line is this here, y'all. We stand on facts. We stand on truth. And we're going to always tell you what the truth is. Last item before we go. Longtime black conservative Bob Woodson has passed away. They posted this on his social media account. Robert Woodson Sr., the Woodson Center mourns the passing of founder and president Robert L. Woodson Sr. I had him on my TV One show a couple of times. In fact, at our previous location, his office was literally right down the street from us, not right down the street, literally right down the hallway. So Bob Woodson, the Woodson Center, he founded in 1981 to empower low-income communities to, as they say, to solve their own problems. Over 4.5 decades, the center has built a track record of supporting grassroots organizations, resulting in ending, it says, enduring gang truces, transform schools, and revitalizing neighborhoods led by the people who live and work in them. Recognized with the MacArthur Genius Fellowship, Presidential Citizens Medal, had a number of different books as well. He was often, placed and touted by various conservative groups. And Bob Woodson also was part of that 1776 effort, which was proposed to counter the 1619 Project. Let me get the actual name of that. So I remember when that came out. So it was a his 1776 Unites Initiative. So again, Robert Woodson Sr. Has passed away, and so condolences certainly to his family and the folks at the Woodson Center. Folks, that is it for us. Let me thank Mondale. Let me thank Teresa for being on today's show. Thank you so very much. I'm going to do this here before I end the show. I'm going to give another reading of what we're doing with Chapter, folks. Let me be real. Again, if you're on Medicare or about to be, the system is not set up to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans, and too many people making money off of your confusion. And look, when we talk about these issues, we're used to this. We're no stranger to systems that don't have our best interests at heart, but we don't have to accept it when it comes to Medicare. That's why I'm telling you about Chapter. Their advisors are independent and honest. In fact, they're the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide, and they're focused on one thing: what actually works for you. If there's a better plan out there, they'll find it for you. If you're already in the right one, they'll tell you that too. No games. Just last year, people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100 a year. Folks, it's 20 minutes with a real person, completely free. All you got to do is call Chapter at 724-264-8281 and connect with someone you can trust. Again, the number is 724-264-8281. All right, folks, that is it for us. If you want to support us via joining our Bring the Funk fan club, please do so. Use Stripe for Cash App. Use the Stripe QR code, or go to blackstarnetwork.com if you're listening. QR code is on the screen. That's also for credit cards, checks, and money order. Make a payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 2003-7-0196. PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Amazon Fire TV, Roku, Samsung Smart TV. You want to get our Roland Martin Unfiltered swag? Please go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. Get our t-shirts, hats, you name it, wall art, mugs, and more. If you want to get our black-owned products, go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. All the products that you see in our studio, they're available on our marketplace. Again, at shopblackstarnetwork.com. And so please support, when you buy those black-owned products, you support this show as well. Don't forget, check out The Breakdown, Brittany Noble, every day, noon Eastern, right here on the Black Star Network. Nope, The Breakdown, thank you very much. The Breakdown, Brittany Noble, every day, noon Eastern, the Black Star Network. Be sure to download the app Fan Base. You can also, of course, follow me at Roland S. Martin. Don't forget, support our other Black Star Network shows. Of course, pull up the first one, dropping on Tuesday. You got that one? All right. Okay, I'm just going to call them out. Hey, yes, Balanced Living. Reverend Dr. Jackie Hood Martin drops every Tuesday on the Black Star Network. Be sure to catch up with The Other Side of Change. That also, of course, drops on the Black Star Network. Y'all need to put on there what day it drops. We, of course, have The Black Table with Dr. Greg Carr. That drops every Friday on the Black Star Network. Of course, we got Second Opinion with Dr. Ebony Jade Hilton. That drops every Thursday on the Black Star Network. And every Friday, you can also catch Roland's Book Club right here on the Black Star Network. All right, folks, that's it. Again, a shout out to Malcolm X and his family. Today would have been 101 years old, and so that's why I'm repping my shirt today. Folks, thanks a bunch. I'll see y'all tomorrow right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Holla!